Hey guys, welcome back to the Break Vape podcast, episode 21. I am your host, Tami Ernst. Today we're going to learn about categorizing where you are in your vaping journey and your thoughts around what category you are in. In my coaching practice thus far, I have noticed that myself and many of the people that I chat with about vaping tend to fall into 5 categories that I've put a lot of thought into and labeled. A lot of you guys ask me how to quit vaping for good, and here's the secret sauce, which I've actually mentioned a lot on the podcast before so that it's not actually an elusive secret. But I've talked a lot before about in order to quit vaping, you're going to need to change the way that you think and feel your feelings. And while that is still absolutely true, today I'm going to add one more aspect to that. And that is now that we have 3 things. So that's it, just 3 things to quit vaping for good. Number 1, you have to become very curious about your vaping addiction. Number 2, you'll have to change the way that you think. And number 3, you will have to feel your feelings. Part of step 1, getting very curious about your vaping addiction, is to take a few minutes to honestly self-reflect without any criticism or judgment towards yourself and see which of the following 5 categories you fall into. I'll list them here and then we'll go into them over more detail. So category number 1 is the absolutely not phase. Category number 2 is the magic wand phase. Category number 3 is the curiosity phase. Category number 4 is the stubborn about quitting phase. And category number 5 is the freedom of a vape-free life forever phase. So in category number 1, well, that one's pretty self-explanatory, right? In the absolutely not phase, you have zero desire to quit vaping. In category number 2, this is what I like to call the magic wand phase. Let's make up an example for this category and name our made-up friend Victor the Vaper, okay? Victor is the victim of a multi-billion-dollar vaping addiction created by Big Tobacco to get him hooked and addicted to vapes. So let's be kind to Victor, okay? Victor has also been told by society that vapes are not as bad as cigarettes, or maybe that vaping is just water vapor and isn't as harmful. But he started to cough a lot when he vapes. He's experiencing shortness of breath. He can't seem to put his vape down. He has started vaping in the bathroom if he's in a place where vaping isn't allowed. And the cost of vaping is really starting to add up into an expensive habit. Even with all of this, Victor doesn't want to put any effort at all into quitting, but he thinks saving money would be great. So if someone could just wave a magic wand over him to break his vaping habit, he would sign up for that all day long. Note, that is not realistic, of course, and a person would never be able to quit in this phase. Okay, moving on to category number 3. Category number 3 is what I call the curiosity phase, and it's so important. In this phase, Victor starts to wonder if he would actually like to quit vaping for good or not. He really wants to go on a cruise, right? And if he could quit vaping, he would save a lot of money and be able to do that sooner. Victor would also like to stop coughing so much, so he begins to do a little digging online to find out if vapes are bad for his health. Let's say his quick search turns into an all-out research binge as he discovers vaping-related deaths from diseases like EVALI and popcorn lung. He reads stomach-churning articles of vapes exploding in people's faces, some of which were fatal for the victim. He reads articles and watches YouTube videos about teenagers being on ventilators, people needing lung replacements, and various ways that vapes are harmful to the human body, including damage to the brain, circulation, oral microbiome and teeth, esophagus, lungs, heart, digestive organs, etc., etc. On his search, Victor learns that vapes have been reported to contain volatile organic compounds, heavy metals such as nickel, tin, and lead, and around 2,000 chemicals like diacetyl, which gives vapes their sweet flavor and is linked to a disease called popcorn lung. Also, vitamin E acetate, which is used to thin out or to thicken vape juice, mainly in THC vapes, and is linked to a deadly disease called EVALI. There's also formaldehyde, which is used to preserve dead bodies, and even pesticides that are used to kill weeds. Let's say Victor keeps digging because he wonders how this is legal and his search leads him to learn about the big tobacco industry adding highly concentrated amounts of nicotine to vapes because they needed a new product to profit from since the rise in popularity around quitting cigarettes took place. Victor's curiosity led him to discover that a brand he vapes called Juul has an ongoing lawsuit right now. And what are we in? March 2023. And Juul has lost several others for fueling a vaping epidemic by marketing their products to appeal to minors and for deceiving consumers about the addictiveness of Juul products. So here's some facts he found. In June 2021, Juul agreed to a $40 million settlement with the Attorney General of North Carolina. In December 2021, Juul and another e-cigarette manufacturer agreed to a $90 million settlement with their investors. In April 2022, Juul agreed to a $22.5 million settlement with the state of Washington. By this point, Victor's curiosity has created an undeniable amount of evidence that is alarming, grosses him out, and ultimately inspires him to quit vaping for good. In this phase, he might try to quit on a whim without really planning it out, but that's really hard to do. I hope he makes it, and he probably won't really succeed until he enters category 3. And side note, by the way, from myself and not from our made-up friend, Victor the Vaper. I live in Houston, Texas, guys, which is in Harris County. And just last month on February 23rd, 2023, a lawsuit was settled where Juul will have to pay Harris County $20 million for using deceptive marketing tactics towards children. This is part of a larger global settlement with Juul, and the total in Texas is said to be $42.8 million. So get curious, and if you're wondering, do some research and find out what that dollar amount is for your state, if there is one. Also, by the way, in 2018, Altria Group paid $12.8 billion, that's B like Bravo, $12.8 billion to acquire a 35% stake in Juul, which was valued at about $35 billion at the time. Why is this important? Because Altria Group's subsidiary, Philip Morris USA, is a cigarette production company that produces Marlboro, I can never say that right, Marlboro, Virginia Slims, Parliament, and many other major cigarette brands. So why does that matter? The significance here is to see how the vape industry is still just big tobacco in modern form. And when it comes to Juul, they have had to remove their diacetyl flavored products from shelves until further notice. Okay, I went on a little rant, but we're going to move on to category number 4. I call this category the quote-unquote stubborn about quitting phase because during the transition from getting curious about vaping to actually living a vape-free life, you will have to be very stubborn with yourself to quit for good. And if you relapse, you will need to explore why you relapsed from a place of non-judgment and not beat yourself up. This is so important because many of us who have tried to quit and then failed either A, beat ourselves up and keep vaping, or B, beat ourselves up and try again. This is terrible for our mental health because beating yourself up makes you feel and identify as a failure, and that, my friends, is a scary and dangerous headspace to be in. Personally, I experienced both option A and option B until I was able to stick with option B and use my method to quit vaping for good without beating myself up. This is a phase where we learn to like our reasons for quitting so much that we are willing to experience any negative emotion in order to achieve our desire for a vape-free life. And we learn actionable tools to manage withdrawal. My brain, your brain, and our friend Victor the Vapor's brain literally make nicotine receptors that will freak out and offer us withdrawal symptoms in the form of urges when we are quitting. But guess what? That is totally fine because in this phase, we'll be following a plan that prepares us on how to manage urges ahead of time. When I'm coaching someone during this transition, I have them pull vaping out from their subconscious mind and explore it because it has been on autopilot for so long. It's almost as if literally can imagine, pulling your vaping addiction out of your brain, setting it on a table and looking at it and saying, this is my addiction. Let's get very curious about it. When you can do this exercise and look at your addiction as if it is completely separate from your physical body, you'll be able to examine and observe it with various tools that are designed to learn from your curiosity and make plans for what that curiosity reveals about your unique addiction so that you can stay completely grounded in your stubbornness. Let's say I was coaching Victor throughout his quitting journey. I would meet with him twice a week for a month, during which time he would acquire an arsenal of tools, tactics, tips, and tricks to ensure that the vape-free life he desires is available to him sooner and easier than he ever imagined. During this phase, Victor would make a list of pros and cons around his vaping. I would show him how and why the brain generates addiction. He would get a deep dive into a term called buffering. He would learn how to manage stress in a healthy way. He would learn how to create a quit plan, which, hint, hint, is absolutely essential. He would learn how to tame urges, identify crutches, disarm triggers, feel his feelings, lead his stubbornness from his future self, celebrate wins, and so much more. Victor was so prepared to quit during this phase, you guys, that he absolutely annihilated his vaping addiction. Go, Victor. Finally, we have category number 5, freedom of living a vape-free life forever. Victor did it, my friends, and it wasn't as awful or as scary as he thought it would be. In this phase, Victor is able to shed his identity as a vapor and now call himself a former vapor forever. The beauty of this phase is that Victor can use his human experience to help others and to even help the planet. Here's some things that I think Victor, the former vapor, would do. These are things that I do and what you will be able to do too. I'm going to go over a few of them, okay? Number 1, spread awareness around the dangers of vaping in online groups and basically to whoever will listen to help them not to vape. And number 2, stay on top of vaping on a national and international level by seeing how the FDA combats the vaping epidemic and what other countries around the world are doing too. Number 3, get involved with speaking and anti-vaping groups. Number 4, stop harming the environment by contributing to e-waste, which contains several types of plastics, metals, chemicals, and hazardous materials. Number 5, he protects the people around him by not spreading secondhand vape smoke. And number 6, he sets a good example for kids because every time a child sees someone vape, it imprints in their brain. The best way to set a good example for children is to model healthy habits. Guys, I challenge you to add this list of 6 amazing things. I challenge you to think about it and add to it and see what other positive results you can come up with from living a vape-free life. So maybe quietly just take a few minutes to reflect in your own mind and see what other reasons you can come up with your own human experience. I want to do one more little exercise before we wrap up today, okay? And then there will be some homework. And whether you're listening to this in real time or years from now, please always do the exercises and email your answers because it is the first step to you helping yourself. Okay, I want you to imagine Victor, the former vapor, and me walking into a vape store. We don't have any anxiety. We don't have any withdrawal symptoms. And we have zero impulse to relapse. Now, I want you to imagine yourself walking into your local vape store or browsing your favorite vape shop online with a handful of cash and a fistful of credit cards and having absolutely zero desire to vape. This is 100% available to you and you are 200% worthy. That is what we do here at Break Vape. Next for the homework. send an email to hello@breakvapes.com. That's hello@breakvapes with an s.com, and tell me what category you or someone you care about is currently in and what category you want to be in. It can be long if you want, but it doesn't have to be. Just say, hey, Tami, my name is, whatever your name is, and this is what category I'm in, and this is the category that I would like to be in. You can be living a vape-free life in less than a month, my friends. Thank you, as always, for letting me be your coach and your resource. I wish you all phenomenal health, and I'll see you next week. Bye.